Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever around the world you are. Happy Olympic semifinal day. Boy, are we excited for this. Me especially, Everett. I am nervous. My name is Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago in the United States. That is Everett DeLorme, live from Toronto, Canada. And this is the Volleyball World Men's Olympic semifinal preview. The Olympic semifinals are starting in just under an hour, Everett. Today is an enormous day.
Whew. Yeah, it is massive, Rob. I can't wait. It's been an outstanding week and a half so far
Tremendous.
of volleyball here at the Olympic Games. And man, the quarterfinals were spicy. I think the quarterfinal day might have been my best day of volleyball
Ever. Straight
ever
up.
of all time. It was just nonstop wall to wall action. And now we have two fantastic semifinals coming up, and I can't wait to break them down and then watch them.
Yeah, break it down and then watch them, and then watch me just be a nervous disaster for this first semifinal. So, I mean, if all of you guys watching, thank you for watching, by the way. If you all caught our preview that we did on this channel before the tournament started, I think one of the things that we've been pretty consistent about, both in that preview and before, is that we've thought that there were 4 teams on the men's side that had a legitimate chance to win this Olympic Games, and it just
We've
so
been talking about that
happens.
since last year.
Right, yes, we have. And it just so happens that those 4 teams are the 4 teams remaining in the semifinals. And we're going to get started with the first team. Let me get this up here. Bang. Semifinal number 1 coming up in just under an hour. Poland versus the United States, and then Italy and France will follow. I legitimately think, Everett, that all 4 of these teams have basically a coin flip chance to win Olympic gold. This is there's no clear favorite going into these semifinals. Both of these matches, and then both the medal matches, whatever they end up being, are going to be insane. But let's start off chronologically. To talk about Poland, they have gotten rid of a very notable curse. As much as their players didn't want to admit that it was there, everybody knew the pressure and the situation that Poland, up until 2 days ago, hadn't qualified past the Olympic quarterfinals in 5 Olympic Games.
Yeah.
5 in a row where they lost the
It
quarterfinals.
has been a long time for volleyball hungry Poland and their fans. This is a team that has been on the up and up. They've won 2 world championships in that time, and still no quarterfinals, no quarterfinal wins for Poland. But Rob, I'm going to push back a little bit on this one. I don't know if there's a coin flip chance between some of these teams. Like for example, I do give the advantage in this one to the Polish team. This is a team that is ranked number 1 in the world for a reason, in my opinion. This is arguably the best team that we have on paper in volleyball. And now the fact that they've gotten over their curse, and not only have they gotten over their curse by getting over the quarterfinals, they did it by getting over one of their biggest road bumps of the 2010s in Slovenia. That was a huge bounce back game for them after they lost to Italy. And I think this Polish team is ready to roll.
It looks like it, and that is another thing that we've been talking about throughout the Olympics, is that the beauty of it is that the matches are not played on paper. They are played on the court under the biggest lights, the biggest stage, the most important tournament in all of volleyball. And the mental effect that can have on individual players and teams is tremendous. It is a big, big deal. And we've seen it in the quarterfinals so far, just like how different teams can look, even compared to how they looked in pool play. Because Poland in pool play just didn't really look that good.
No,
They kind of struggled. They went to 5 with Brazil. They got pushed around by Italy, but then they got to Slovenia, who was a team that looked amazing in pool play, and the script was flipped in that quarterfinal game, and Poland got past them 3-1, like kind of convincingly, and they looked awesome in doing so.
I mean, when you look at this Polish roster, this is a team that knows how to make deep runs in tournaments, right? As I
In
mentioned,
every other tournament except this one, but
in
yes.
in every other tournament except for this one, you're exactly right. Gold in 2014 and 2018 at the World Championships. We saw another gold last year in 2023 at the VNL, defeating this very United States team in that final. So that is some recent history that we can kind of pull on for this match, and like not only at the international level but at the club level too. How many club world champions and Champions League champions and various league champions does this Polish team have? So they are set and ready, and I think that now that they're off of their curse game, it's going to be it's going to be a lot better. But on the other side of the net, Rob, for you, your United States of America, this is another team that maybe I wouldn't say struggled through the group stage. I thought they are quite solid through the group stage, but definitely some struggles through earlier in the summer throughout the VNL. But they've come here so far in this Olympic Games, and to me, they've gotten better and better with every match.
Yes, we have, and I will use the term we because I am American and I am very excited about the way that this United States men's team has played. Yeah, we definitely look like the best version of ourselves right now. I mean, I think you said it, Everett, on our show the other day that with every match and just now, the United States has gotten better, and that win against Brazil 3-1 in the quarterfinal was definitely the best match we have played so far this summer. I loved the way that we've been adjusting to the flow of different games in this Olympics, because I do think that we were in the toughest pool top to bottom. I mean, Poland got to beat up on Egypt, and we did not get anything so easy, although Argentina's struggles are pretty well documented. But we beat them, we beat Germany, we beat Japan, we beat Brazil, and all those games have within themselves have included a lot of change and just dynamic nature of how things have moved around and how both teams have had to adjust in every matchup. And I love the way the U.S. has played. I love the way the U.S. has improved. And in particular, I love the play of two guys. That's Matt Anderson and Micah Christensen at opposite and setter, who I think will be two of, if not the two most important players in this match today.
Well, Rob, you're talking about a little bit of change and moving some things around, and we have seen some change on the Polish roster.
Yes, we have.
With Matusz Bieniek succumbing to his ankle injury that he's came in with it. We saw him re-aggravate it at the end of that Slovenia match, and he will be out, and Bolanj will be coming in as a third opposite for Poland. Now, that's a huge blow for Poland, as Bieniek is their third leading scorer so far, slotting in behind Leon and Kurek. He has been dependable. We know him to be one of the best middle blockers in the world. He can get it done offensively, blocking wise, and also from the baseline, right? He can kind of get it done everywhere. The one saving grace for Poland in this fact is that Norbert Huber was arguably the best middle blocker in the world this year, right? So you've got someone that outstanding sliding in and coming off the bench. That's huge, but that does create a bit of a hole for Poland with no backup middle blockers. And now, I don't think that's going to be an issue in terms of performance, because both Kokonowski and Huber are, in my opinion, top 10 middle blockers in the world,
class,
right?
Yeah.
Both are world class and can get the job done tenfold. But if there were to be an injury, that's where some problems might arise for Poland.
Yeah, that would be a big issue now that they only have two healthy middle blockers on the roster. So best wishes to Mateusz Bieniek. But yeah, that same ankle injury that kept him out of the second half of last summer, unfortunately, has come back up in the Olympic Games. And as I put up here, the team stat comparison on how the two teams have played statistically so far throughout the Olympics, one number that really jumps off the page is aces for Poland. They have been by far the best serving team in the field. And what these numbers that you see compare each team's metrics compared to the other four teams that are still remaining in the field. So if the teams have been eliminated, they are not included in these stat comparisons. I mean, 39 aces and on better than 2-to-1 error to ace ratio for Poland is outstanding. And Mateusz Bieniek is a big part of that service pressure.
Oh, he is. He's their second best guy with aces. He has 6 aces so far this Olympic tournament. Leon's sitting in first at 11, which is crazy, but
ridiculous.
One thing to note, Bieniek 6 aces, Huber coming off the bench 5. So even though Bieniek may be one of their big pieces, once again, you're still not losing Huber, anything from Huber there. But when you look at this serving from this Polish team throughout this tournament, Rob, virtually everyone on this team has had an ace. There's only 2 players who aren't Paweł Satorski, who have gotten aces, and that's Śliwka and Gregor Lomacz.
Yeah, so they've used basically everybody, and that's another thing about Poland that we talk about all the time is that their roster from not only just from 1 to 12 in this Olympic Games, but more like from 1 to 30. Like the top 30 players in their program are so good and they're so deep, and they have been able to use really a lot of their players. But one thing that I would say Poland has struggled with a little bit, Everett, and the numbers actually do back this up, is that their offense hasn't been overwhelmingly good. Fourth amongst remaining teams in kill percentage, 4th amongst remaining teams in hitting efficiency. And it's something that I do think that my United States has a huge advantage in right now, as our offense has been unbelievable. 441 efficiency on the tournament, and we didn't even get to play Egypt like Poland did. Micah Christensen is a big advantage over Marcin Janusz, the way that the two of them are playing right now. And just in the varieties of the offenses that the two teams run. I think that Poland obviously has the athletes. We talk about it all the time. They're completely world class at every single position. But I do think that their offense is a little bit, I don't know if predictable is the right word, but it's more standard and it's more linear. Whereas the United States offense is a lot more dynamic and a lot faster and a lot more creative. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know if it's due to the fact that Marcin Janusz isn't creative or isn't that type of setter, but it does lead to the type of team that they have, right? You've got big hitters pretty much everywhere. So setting high balls to guys like Leon and Kurek is just kind of the way to go. Where I would like to see a little bit of variety in their game is definitely playing with the pipe a little bit more and using that spacing with the middle blockers. Both, especially Volkanovski, are really good at running different routes, and we don't see kind of like the pop and drift routes that we see from other teams like the United States or Argentina with this Polish squad a lot. But I think this middle battle in this match is going to be massive. Right? When you look at how well Taylor Averill and Max Holt have been playing throughout these Olympic Games, I think they've been consistently the best American players throughout this tournament. They've been outstanding. Taylor Averill especially looking great with that headband out there, serving aces, playing defense. We
leading
love
the tournament in blocks with 13.
Exactly. We absolutely love it for the kid out of North California, but with Kokonowski and Hoover on the other side of the net, that middle battle is going to be so enticing. Who's ever going to be able to control the middle of the court, both at the front of the net in terms of like the middle blockers and their swinging and their blocking, but also in the back court with how they're running that pipe game, that's going to be allow either team to open things up. So that middle battle for me is going to be one of the most intriguing battles that we have in this match, and I'm going to be watching it closely.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you talked a little bit about recent history earlier. The United States and Poland have played a bunch this quad. I mean, they beat us twice in the World Championship 2 years ago on their way to losing in the final. They beat us in the VNL final last year. We beat them in the VNL semifinal in 2022. It's been a lot of back and forth. I will say that the only times that we have lost to Poland in this quad have been in Poland, or like this year in VNL when we didn't have our full team together. But when taking the home court advantage away from them is a nice thing. However, I will never forget in that 2022 World Championship how they destroyed us in the middle. They completely dominated us in the middle. I think it was Kochanovsky and Bieniek at the time that were just completely unstoppable. And Janusz continued to feed them the ball, and we were nowhere close to slowing them down. So I'm looking at that too. But like you said, the way that opens up everything else, I think the opposite matchup is going to decide this match. I really do. Bartosz Kurek so far for Poland, I mean, World Championship MVP once upon a time. He's only hitting 178 on the tournament. 41 kills on 107 attempts and 22 errors. And that is not particularly good, especially compared to Matt Anderson, who is especially hot lately, hitting 392 on the Olympic Games.
Well, Rob, you and I have discussed this right side or opposite situation for Poland almost at length this summer, because the reality is that when you look at a lot of the recent success for Poland in terms of winning championships, like especially that 2018 World Championship and stuff further, like it's usually Lukasz Kaczmarek who's there and who's the guy. Like he was the guy that last year at the VNL, and recently they've been going to him. He had a bit of an injury this year. They've gone with Kurek, and to me, Kaczmarek has to still be injured because they've gone to him so little, and Kurek's numbers haven't been fantastic. So it really makes me wonder. I think Kurek's definitely going to start this match, and if he has a match like he did against Slovenia, then he'll probably stay in. But if it's going to be a match like, say, that he had against Italy, then we might see Boland actually come in. And even though he is coming in as that reserve player, I think it's a very strong possibility that we're going to see him in this matchup. We saw how dynamic he was this year for Zawiecki. We've seen that he can put up numbers. He's a different look with a different size body and a lefty on that right side. So it just brings in a different look for Poland. And I wouldn't put it out of the question to see him maybe finishing the match today.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that the United States has kind of dealt with throughout this entire tournament so far, because in just about every match, our opponents have made major lineup changes in the middle of the matches. I mean, the Germany match, they switched setters, and Johannes Thiele came in and completely changed the flow of that game. And the Japan match, we actually kind of bullied Yuki Ishikawa into going to the bench. And when Otsuka came on, their offensive strategy changed, and that was the set that Japan won. And same with Brazil in the quarterfinal. We got Darlan to the bench, we got Yuan de Leal to the bench, and we even got Bruno to the bench towards the end of the match. So how does the United States handle the different options that teams have off the bench, especially in Poland's case when they're so deep and they can give you looks at every position except in the middle, like we said with the injury concerns. But on that subject, I'm curious about the play of Wilfredo Leon, because he has been the best server in the tournament, and he's really one of the greatest servers of the volleyball of all time, straight up. But he will be a target in reception, and sometimes if he struggles in reception, he can get moved to the bench pretty quickly. So could we see a Kamil Semeniuk or an Alexander Slivka? I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. They did go with Fornal to start on the left side alongside Leon.
Fornal was awesome in the quarterfinal, by the way.
He
Great
was
middle back defense.
Fantastic. But I mean, with this Polish roster, just really like close your eyes, take a pick. You can't really you can't really go wrong. But for me, Rob, there's a lot of legacy on the line in this match. There is a lot of legacy. You have some of the greatest players to have played our game who are going to be playing in both of these matches, of course, to talk about. But when you're talking about guys like Bartosz Kurek and Matt Anderson, especially, you talked about that right side battle. These are two of the greatest players that we've had over the past decade and more. And both of them are missing an Olympic gold medal. I mean, Matt Anderson does have an Olympic medal from Rio, from the bronze from Rio, but Kurek has none. So I think that there's an added layer in this match that everyone knows the importance of it all. And I think for a player like Leon, especially, who, let's be honest, Leon is in the conversation of cementing himself as one of the, if not the best player of all time in volleyball, right? We don't do much GOAT talk in volleyball, but in that conversation, Leon has to be there.
100%.
And he came to this Polish team to win an Olympic Games.
Yes, he did.
Right? That was the point. You don't naturalize yourself as an athlete. For the only reason to do it is to go to the Olympic Games. No one naturalizes themselves to win a world championships. It's really nice, but it doesn't mean that much to you. You want to do it on the biggest level, and that's the Olympic Games. And Leon knows that. So for me, it's how is he going to react in these moments where it's the most dire? We saw him put this team on his back in 2021 in Tokyo. Right?
Oh yeah, he was just so good in that quarterfinal that they ended up losing to France in that 5-setter. And he was by far the best player on either team, even in 100%. The loss.
Yeah, and so like this is his last chance to solidify his legacy, because he's basically won everything else. Not basically, he has won everything else, and this is his chance to solidify his legacy as the best player.
Maybe. And kind of the same goes for this United States team. I mean, this is really the last ride of a generation that's been just amazing to my country's volleyball for over a decade. I mean, I remember in 2014 when Micah Christensen was still a junior in university, and it was Matt Anderson's first year playing on the right side, and we went through the World League and we won. We beat Brazil in the final with one of the youngest teams in the world. Now, 10 years later, we are the oldest team in the Olympic field, and there is a good chance that a lot of the American players will be moving on after this, and I'm happy for them that they have gotten to this point because they deserve to be here, and they've been playing awesome volleyball. And somebody in the chat brought up, and I agree, that the vibes and the energy that the personality and the fun that the Americans are playing with, I think, is second to none, even compared to France, who are typically really good in that category. I think the United States is mentally built to really win this Olympic Games, and I think that they, even though they know this is probably the last chance with this group, I think the mental preparedness is there, and I'm really curious to see how that goes. And the last guy I want to talk about before we move on is TJ DeFalco, who will start across opposite Aaron Russell. And Aaron Russell has been, I think he's second in the tournament in hitting efficiency amongst wings, like outsides and opposites. But DeFalco is a guy who has played in the Polish Plus Liga the last several years. He has teammates on the other side of the net. He has a team that knows very well how to play against him and kind of pushes buttons a little bit. And as far as emotional response, DeFalco is the guy that I'm looking at. If he can hang in there and if the team can pick him up when things aren't going super well against a great opponent, then I honestly like our chances. And I think the last thing we got to do here, Everett, is pick it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these American guys who have spent some time in Poland. Taylor Averill is
Eric
a guy
Shoji,
Eric Shoji as well. David Smith coming off the bench. There's going to be a lot of things. I think, Rob, that this match is going to be a chess match. Yeah. I think this match, like when you just size the teams up player by player, I do give the advantage to Poland. So only slightly, but I do give the advantage to Poland. But I think that this is going to be so close that this is going to be a chess match, and I'm going 3-2 Poland. I think it's going to go the distance, and I think the Poland's going to win it and take it.
I could definitely see it going the distance. I'm actually going to pick United States 3-1, though.
Well, surprise.
Yeah, right. Real surprise. No, I've actually been real consistent with my picks, and I've thought since the beginning, and you can check the records. I've said United States gold, Italy silver, France bronze for this Olympic Games, and right now that's still possible with the way the bracket is shaken out. I love the way that the United States is playing, and I really think that that team is greater than the sum of its individual parts, and those individual parts are very, very good. But the Olympic Games is a different animal, and I think that we're slightly better mentally prepared to win it between the ears compared to what Poland is doing right now, just barely. So I've got US 3-1.
I guess we'll see. They've actually won things in the past few years. You guys haven't. So, all right.
Well, when we don't play them in Poland, we play them pretty well.
Hasn't happened for a bit that recently. All right, moving on. But before we move on, ladies and gentlemen, have you seen that pretty little yellow and blue ball that you've been watching on your screens in Paris? Well, you can head over to shop.volleyballworld.com and pick yourself up one for your home. You can sit and watch volleyball and just volley to yourself. Volley it off the wall. Don't volley it off the window. You might break it. Volley it to your friend. And you can only get that at shop.volleyballworld.com, the official game balls of Paris 2024, only from Mikasa. Look at that clean branding, Rob.
They're real nice. Awesome. I mean, I have a Mikasa behind me that I actually do that all the time. I just volley it to myself as I'm watching games, but I might have to pick one up with the logos just in memoriam of what has been one of the greatest tournaments of all time. And yeah, you can get the official replica all the way down to the mini one that you get for signatures, whatever you want. Shop.volleyballworld.com to get all that gear. All right, Everett.
Maybe Volleyball World can give us like one of the official game balls.
Ooh,
can someone grab us a ball from Paris?
We know people that are there.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
All right. Let's talk about semifinal number 2. This is going to be just as spicy as the first. That is Italy versus France.
Spicier.
In Paris. The nightcap, 8 p.m. local. And first and foremost, the crowds in France this tournament have been unreal. How good has it been to have crowds back in the stands in this Olympic Games compared to 3 years ago?
Night and day.
Night and day.
Night and day. But you know what? We're not. It's not that we're not used to having big crowds in the stands for Olympic Games. Like you think back to the Marcazinho in Rio in 2016, or even London back in 2012. Like indoor volleyball has always been well attended, but this French crowd is rabid at 9 a.m. I mean, big shout out to one of our Volleyball World people on the ground, Bianca. Molnar, who's the live MC, and I see her posting on Instagram in the morning, and there's people getting hype at 9 a.m. for these matches. So the French fans and everyone else, you guys have been chef's kiss. You guys have been amazing, but they are going to be rabid in this one. They're going to blow the roof off of the South Paris Stadium. Yes, I am worried for the surrounding areas just because of the noise pollution that they're going to be experiencing throughout this match. I think this one has the potential to be another all-time classic, right? We saw an all-time classic when Italy reverse swept Japan in the quarterfinals. That had to be one of the best Olympic Games of all time.
The best match of this tournament and one of the best of all time.
Yeah, definitely one of the best I've ever seen at the Olympics, right up there with the finals in 2012 when Russia reverse swept Brazil. But This one, I think, because you have contrasting styles, contrasting characters, players who know each other, a French coach who is Italian and has so much history with this team, the French guys who have played in Italy and have history with those Italian guys. There's so much crossover and knowing of these two teams, and yet you have the calm, the almost stoic Italians who are able to just stay level and play the same game always, compared to the roller coaster of emotions and the athleticism and the creativity of the French. This one's going to be an all-time great.
Yeah,
I think we're really in for a treat here.
it's beautiful. It's just like a beautiful thing to even think about watching that we're going to get in a couple hours. The contrasting styles. Yeah, you nailed it. And Italy, I think Italy knows going into this that they're going to be playing 6-on-7 this whole match. They will have a seventh,
if not
France
6-on-8.
not 6-on-8. But France is going to have an additional player on the court, and that's the crowd. That crowd is going to be unbelievable and is going to fuel France's emotion the way that they like to play the game. But the way Italy likes to play the game, and the word that comes to mind for me is control. Italy exudes control. They bend other teams to their will. They bend the flow of the game to the speed at which they want to play it. And I think you said in one of our shows recently, Everett, that if Italy wants to win this game, they're going to have to win it convincingly. Because if France gets in a close situation, like if it's 22-22, or if it's like any point in a fifth set, then France, I think, has the emotional edge in those cases, not just because of the crowd, but because of just who they are as a team and the lines that they're willing to either cross or come very close to crossing. But
Yeah.
Italy has the players and they have the play style to fend that off better than a lot of other teams in the world.
Hey, the defending world champions are one of the best teams, I think, to take on France in this environment. When I interviewed Micheletto earlier this year at Vienna, Ottawa, he talked about how this Italian team likes to play calm. Yeah. And when they play calm and unbothered, that's when they're at their best, right? When they're playing calm and focused, and you have the synergy that happens, because the Italians require that synergy between their team, a lot like the French do, but it's just different. Where the Italians need that calm, and that's when Micheletto and Lavia and Gianelli and of course Romano, who's had a fantastic tournament, are all kind of vibing on the same level. And I'm going to go out there and say it. If anyone's been watching any of the other sports in the Olympics, namely team sports, you'll have noticed a certain trend in referees in their favoritism towards France. And I think that's just a natural thing that you have when it comes into an Olympic Games. But as a Canadian fan who saw a lot of fouls go against our basketball team yesterday in a quarterfinal against the French, I think, and we've kind of seen it already for the French, I think Italy's going to have to battle some potentially. If there's a close call, it's probably going to be going to the French.
Very possibly.
Let's just be real. That's the reality of the Olympic Games. If this was a volleyball world event, it would probably be a little bit different, probably a little bit more even. But instead, so yeah, I think that Italy has to be mentally prepared to have some calls go against them, right? To have some situations that may not be ideal, and they're just going to have to reset and go back to it. And I think they have the perfect roster for that. Yeah, let's remember here, Rob, that this Italian team is tied for the most medals ever at the Olympic Games in men's volleyball, but has never won the gold, right? So they're on a mission. This team is on a mission. They're the youngest team in the tournament, and yet they already have won a world championship, won a Euro volley, and gotten second at a Euro volley, losing to Poland last year in the final. So this Italian team is ready. And another thing that I'd like to note, we talked about Alessandro Micheletto, who is, we talked about Leon trying to cement himself as one of the best players ever in this game. And to me, Micheletto is that next guy up, right? In the same situation when Michael Jordan was retiring at the end of the 90s and everyone was looking at the early 2000s, everyone looking at Kobe to be the next guy up. For me, Micheletto is the next guy up. And if Italy has the ability to win their first ever gold medal, Micheletto will be the first player ever to capture all the major trophies in volleyball at only the age of 23, which is which is
completely insane,
which is ridiculous to think about. So
we call him the unicorn for a reason.
We do. And Rob, you're throwing up some of the team comparison stats right here, and like it just shows how close this is to call. Literally, if one of them's in second, the other one's in third. They're both each first in a category. They're each fourth in a few categories. Like these teams are so close neck and neck. it's going to be so hard to call this one.
Yeah, it is. We can look at some of these numbers, talk about some individual performances. Italy's offense slightly better than France through the tournament. These are the two best blocking teams in the tournament in terms of blocks per set. France is not, however, neither of them, I was going to say France, but really neither of them are having great serving tournaments. Over 3 errors per ace, so they're not serving the ball super duper well, but they clearly have the potential to do so. But look at those passing numbers for France. France is the most in-system team in the tournament. That's going to put a lot of pressure on the Italian blockers, especially Galassi and Russo in the middles. On the French side, I'm looking at the play of Irvin Ingapet, the reigning MVP of the Olympics. He started off pretty slow this tournament. We didn't see him hardly at all in the VNL, which France won, by the way. That's important to point out. But Ingapet this Olympics has been the guy. He has an infinitely long leash, according to Andrea Gianni, with whom he has a great relationship, long back before Gianni was coaching France. And Irvin's going to have to be great, and he's going to have to be emotionally great, and he's going to have to produce, because he's always going to be emotionally himself, but he's going to have to produce. He's only hitting 230 efficiency so far on the tournament, and he's going to be hitting against one of the best blocking teams on the planet with like really 6 blockers sideline to sideline. Italy is scary.
Yeah,
scary on both pins, especially.
Yeah, for sure. And they have some of the biggest right side blockers too, with the pairing of Romano and Gianelli.
Great right side blocking pair, and the left side is even gnarlier. Like Micheletto's 7 feet tall, and Lavia is one of the best pin blockers on the planet.
100%. And for me, Rob, that's why my player to watch for France has to be Jean Patry. And now I know that you love Jean Patry, and you think that he's one of the best guys in this team, and maybe should have won an MVP back in Tokyo, but he really wasn't that good for this French team in the quarterfinals against Germany, right? And that was a really tough matchup. And yeah, he was not good. Only 7 points in a 5-setter. Ended up getting subbed off. They brought in the youngster Théo Fort, who did a really good job.
Yeah, he was very good off the bench.
Fort had a fantastic season for Cisterna in the Italian Superlega, but he's not ready to play at this level, in my opinion, right? For France to be successful today, Patry needs to have a bounce back game. He needs to have a bounce back game. He needs to be that guy that they can rely on, because Italy's going to spread their offense pin to pin, right? Especially the way that Romano's been playing with the strength that they've had on the outside. That's Gianelli's strength. He runs that offense left to right really, really well, and he's going to make Le Goff and Chinese really, really move. That middle battle, I think, is going to be very interesting too, but it's mostly going to be how much can they contain the middle before allowing themselves to get out to the outside.
Exactly.
Right? I don't think neither of these teams really focus that much on running their middle, because they understand that like the speed that they can run it out to the outside, and their weapons on the outside really helps with that spread of offense.
This is kind of what we were talking about earlier with the setting styles of the United States and Poland. I would like to see Antoine Brizard, who I assume will get the start at setter for France, and we might see Tonyuti as well. France is a creative team. They are a high-skilled, sort of like artistic team, and that's something that I think has been missing from them just a little bit this tournament. And you were asking about, asking for maybe more of the Bic, or like that presence out of the pipe in the middle of the court on the Polish side. I think that France could use a little bit of that as well, especially to maybe put some second thoughts in the back of the heads of a great blocking team in Italy. A little bit more creativity and getting back to what France is great at, I think, could go a long way.
Yeah. No doubt about it, especially with the way that like Clevenot's been playing, and finally
we got tremendous.
We got a Clevenot start in the semifinals against Germany, and I would hope for the French fans' sake that they're going to give Trevor Clevenot a start once again on the left side.
Third in the tournament in hitting efficiency amongst wings, which is crazy, behind only Aaron Russell and another guy that I think right now is the early favorite for MVP of the tournament. That's Yuri Romano. And you in the preview, Everett, and rightly so, called that Yuri Romano was going to be the X factor for Italy's chances to either win a medal or flame out early, and how good and how consistently he could play. He has been absolutely amazing, leading the field in points as far as teams that are left, leading the field in kills and hitting efficiency. And I think he's tied for second in aces. Like, he's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
he's going to have to do it again.
He's been outstanding. Right. Yeah. He's been outstanding. And we have a saying within our community, there's Roma no and there's Roma yes.
That's right. He's been Roma yes so far.
He has been Roma yes so far. And we've seen him in big situations and we've seen him in small situations. And Romano is a big situation player, right? Yuri is a guy who, if his regular season match,
Meh.
maybe it's a preliminary round, maybe we'll just saunter in, right? He's not a guy like, once again, you talk about a guy who's calm, like this dude will rip an ace and come down absolutely no emotion. Right, he is so unbothered sometimes. That's why I think he needs those bright lights and the big moments and the pressure to really get himself going, and that's the
Well, look
way.
no further than the semifinals of
Yeah,
the Olympic Games against
and
against a home crowd.
And if you look at the three major championships that Italy has played for since the last Olympic Games, the 2021 Euro Volley, 2022 World Championships, and the 2023 Euro Volley, there's two of those matches where Romano played outstanding. And that was in 2021 and 2022 at Euro Volley and the World Championships. Both of those matches, Italy won. And that's why they have gold medals. The one where he didn't really show it up and was maybe just a little lukewarm was the European Championship last year, where he wasn't the greatest. He is going to be the biggest factor of whether or not Italy can play with this French team or not, because France, we know, has all of their options and everyone's going to be going. If Romano continues his stellar play, I think it might actually give Italy a leg up
I agree.
on France, right? If he's there and he's ready to go, then he's better than Patry from the baseline and attacking wise. Maybe
No,
not so much defensively and blocking, but if he's Romano for the first time in this Olympics, then Italy has a big problem because Bovalenta is not ready to come in off the
no.
bench.
But if he's Roma, yes, then
If
Italy
he's Roma,
has that
yes.
that balance sideline to sideline and that threat everywhere and six great servers. And a good reminder, by the way, we talked about the familiarity between these two teams. In I think it was the 2022 season, Yuri Romano's first season in the Superlega, he was the backup opposite for Milano. Guess who is the starter?
Jean Patry.
Jean Patry. The familiarity goes very, very deep, and I cannot wait for this. Their recent history is pretty balanced. I think Italy beat France in Eurovolley last year. France beat Italy in VNL this year in the preliminary round, a match that we were at Everett in person.
It was a five
And
setter.
great five setter. Italy had all the starters, and France did not, and they still figured it out. So like that skill and that creativity, and both of these teams, I think, are really ready for the moment. Makes this one very hard to pick, but I think that's what we have to do. I think that's the last thing we have to do.
I think so too. Now, as per what I had said earlier, I think that Italy needs to win this one decisively.
Yep.
I think they need to shut down France with their block. I think they need to be strong from the baseline, and both their side out game and transition game need to be on point, right? But Italy has the potential to do that. And if they can do that, I think they win 3-1.
I actually also have Italy 3-1.
Ooh.
And I'm afraid of both of us picking against the home team here, but I love Italy's balance. I love their control, and I love what's going on between the ears for them. I think that they're built well to withstand what France is going to try and do with them emotionally, with the home crowd, and with their personalities in France, and trying to step over whatever lines there might be. And I have a lot of faith in Alessandro Micheletto. He is an all-time great player in the making. I think this is the tournament where he cements at least a portion of his legacy at only age 22. And I've also got Italy 3-1.
Not to mention, you're talking about legacy. This French team is looking to be the first team since 84 and 88 when the Americans repeated as Olympic champions. So there's so much on the line for all of these teams right now. Yeah, I absolutely can't
and
wait.
that pressure goes a little bit of both ways. Like, because France, I mean, they're the defending champs. They're playing at home, but I don't know if they really feel really that much pressure. I mean, they've already accomplished one of the great achievements in all of sports. Sure, they have an opportunity to do it again at home, which is completely different. But like you said, Italy has never won an Olympic gold medal.
No,
And
never.
How does that affect them in a situation like this? I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And you guys can check out it. We are about 16 minutes away from the first game, USA versus Poland. For all of those wondering, unfortunately, you cannot check out the match here on YouTube or on Volleyball World TV. You will have to go to your respective country's official Olympic broadcasting partner. They have all the control over it. Otherwise, you would be able to watch it on Volleyball World TV. And we will see you guys back again tomorrow morning.
That's right.
Same time to do the women's breakdown before the semifinals.
Yep. Going to be a great day of volleyball. We will see you in about 24 hours. Poland versus the United States men's Olympic semifinal, first serve in 15 minutes. Everett, let's do it.
Let's go.
Thanks for watching, y'all.
Peace, guys.